Grade 12 Economics. Good afternoon. I'm Mr. Mhlongo. I'm back here today with you on a revision session for paper 2. We're only dealing with microeconomics as a part of paper 2. I believe you did very well in your paper 1 that was written, and I believe you'll do well also in paper 2. So please follow me. Let's see what I have for you in the pocket. So like I've mentioned, is economic revision, mainly for paper 2. The paper will be written tomorrow on the 4th of June, 2024. Topics to be covered or to be examined include perfect markets, imperfect markets, and market failures. Just to break it down for you so that you will follow me very well. Under perfect markets, the main focus in there, remember we deal with cost and revenue schedules. And then also we further to deal with characteristics of the perfect market. After that, we discover if we work on the short run and long run equilibrium for the perfect market. And then also we work on the economic profit or economic loss or normal profit, drawing those graphs in there. We maximize the profit using total revenues and total cost, marginal revenues and marginal cost. And then we discuss in detail or briefly, what is it, the Competition Policy Act of South Africa. In this essay, you can expect at least 2 essays and 1 additional essay that can be a market structure. The essay can be discussed in detail, perfect market or characteristics of perfect market. And then also it can be discussed in detail 3 equilibrium positions for the firm under perfect market. Or it can be compare and contrast a perfect market with maybe another market from imperfect market as a market structure, or discuss in detail perfect market as a market structure. And then still on on markets, we go to the imperfect markets. Under imperfect markets, we deal with the monopolies. That's when now you can come across an essay saying discuss in detail characteristics of monopoly. And then also it can be discuss in detail monopoly as a market structure, or it can be discuss in detail the following equilibrium positions for the firm under a monopoly. It can be maybe the economic profit, economic loss, or the normal profit. And then we move to oligopolies. That's where you discuss oligopoly, types of oligopolies in there. And then also examples of firms or industries under oligopoly. We also go further to discuss the behavior of oligopoly, where we look at its characteristics in details in there. It is very important for you to be able to discuss the interdependence, the collusion, the king demand curve. Those are very special parts of oligopoly, which are not the part of perfect market or monopoly. That's how oligopolies differ from these other market structures under perfect and imperfect market. And then also you can also be given a chance to discuss in detail oligopoly as a market structure, or compare and contrast oligopoly to another market structure. And then still under oligopoly, what matters the most also in the be able to draw and explain or briefly discuss the king demand curve for the oligopoly, explaining those 2 segments, top segment and bottom segment, explaining why consumers are less sensitive on the top segment, are very sensitive on the top segment and less sensitive on the bottom segment. And then we go further to the monopolistic, where now we talk about the examples of industries under the monopolistic competition, explaining why monopolistic competition is a part of the dual structure or hybrid structure, and then also going further to explain or to discuss in detail monopolistic competition as a market structure, or comparing monopolistic competition with another market structure. And then it is very important also for you to be able to distinguish between the monopolist demand curve as well as the monopolistic competition demand curve. Remember, the one for the monopoly is downward sloping, the same as the one for the monopolistic. However, the difference will be the one for the monopoly as much as it's downward sloping, but it is relatively inelastic because consumers are not sensitive to the change in price due to the fact that the firm is the firm is the only supplier of a product in the market without any close substitute. And then going to the monopolistic, under the monopolistic, the market entry is free, so there's a high level of competition. Having said that, if there is more competition, that will mean if one firm decides to increase the price while it's having some competitors, consumers can react quickly to buy from other, what do you call it, from other suppliers in the market, because you find that they might be selling at the lower price while this other firm has increased the price. So that can lead to consumers being very sensitive to the change in price, and that will be creating the downward sloping demand curve, which is relatively elastic, indicating that consumers are very sensitive to the change in price under monopolistic, because the products that are sold in there are differentiated. However, they satisfy the same utility and they are the perfect substitutes for each other. And then from then, we'll be moving to the market failure. Remember, in there, we refer to the misallocation of resources, which result to the situation whereby goods are not produced and supplied at the right quantity, right quality, and the right time. So in there, we'll be talking about the reasons for the market failure, that which now can be asked as reason that can lead to the misallocation of resources within the market. It is very important for you to be able to discuss them in details. Those reasons, remember, they include missing markets, they include externalities, they include immobility of factors of production, they include lack of information, they include imperfect market structure, and then they include unfair distribution of income and wealth. And then we go further again to discuss in detail the consequences of market failure. In there, we have the likes of externalities, where you discuss both the negative and positive, keeping it in your mind that you have to discuss concept related to externalities, the likes of internal cost or private cost and external cost. Together, they formulate social cost, internal benefit or private benefit, plus what do you call the external benefit. Together they give us social benefits. And then we go further to talk about the inefficiencies that occur in the market, which include the likes of productive or technical inefficiencies. We talk about also allocative inefficiencies. Then we talk about Pareto inefficiency. And then going further, it is very important for you to be able to discuss the government intervention in detail. Discuss in detail the government intervention as a consequence of market failure. That's when the state can intervene through rules and regulations, or we call it direct control, when the state intervenes by setting some rules and regulations, laws and bylaws, to ensure that market failure doesn't occur. Also, the state intervenes by ensuring that imperfect markets do not exist in the economy. And then we go further, we talk about the minimum wage, which is legislated by the government in some industries to ensure that there is fair income distribution, also to reduce income inequalities. It is also there to ensure that people are able to live, to earn income that is above the poverty line. And then also, we talk about the minimum prices, which are basically prices that are set by, administered by the government to be above the market equilibrium. That is done to encourage businesses to produce more of those goods and services because they are important for the welfare of the nation. It is done to protect food security of the nation. Normally, it is there under agriculture, like under farming. We talk about maize meal as a part of those goods that are having what we call the minimum prices, also the wheat. And then we talk about the maximum prices. Remember, minimum prices are called also the price floors. However, opposite, they are above equilibrium. We talk about maximum prices or price ceilings. Those are prices that are set or administered by the government to be below the equilibrium. They are set by the government to be there because they are very important for the welfare of the nation. Sometimes people cannot really survive without having to have those goods and services. Then the state intervenes to ensure that those goods are sold below the market price or below the equilibrium. But the issue in there is that whenever those goods are sold below the market price or below the market equilibrium, what happens? Businesses are always discouraged to produce those goods and services because they appear more cheap, so they become less profitable for businesses. That's when now the government intervenes by producing those goods as public goods and services. They can be collective goods or community goods. And then we go further to the levying of taxes. That's when the state intervenes by levying taxes on the sale or production of goods that are harmful into the society to reduce the consumption consumption of those goods, the state intervenes by imposing high level of taxes to discourage producers from supplying those goods and services into the society. And then we talk about the effect of subsidies. That's when the state intervenes by giving the cash or grant to businesses so that they can produce more goods and services at the lower cost and increase the aggregate supply. And then we also talk about redistribution of income and wealth. That's when the state intervenes now by ensuring that it uses traditional methods of income redistribution, such as progressive tax system, whereby high income earners are taxed more than lower income earners, and that money is used to benefit the poor in the economy. That's when the state used redress methods to correct imbalances of the past that were caused by apartheid discriminatory laws. In that case, we talk about the likes of triple BE, the broad-based black economic empowerment. We talk about the likes of land reform policies, such as land restitution and land redistribution, be able to give the difference between the two. Remember, as for land restitution, that's when the government intervened by giving people that lost their land forcefully during the apartheid or because of discriminatory laws, they receive money as a compensation. But if it's a land redistribution, those people that lost their land forcefully receive land back, maybe for the sake of business purposes, agricultural purposes, etc. And then also we go further, or we have some other forms of redistribution. And then still on there, we have under progressive tax system, we have benefits in natura, whereby the state intervened by providing public education services, healthcare services, and defense force. And then we go further again to talk about the likes of expanded public work program as a part of redistribution, which are mainly given to, given to areas or places that are underdeveloped, where there's a high level of unemployment and poverty. And then also we talk about the government intervention in production. That's when the state now can intervene in the production of goods and services, maybe by producing public goods and services that can be collective goods or community goods. The state can also intervene by by using supply side policies and demand side policies that you wrote about in economic paradigm. In that case, the state can intervene by using the traditional monetary policy and fiscal policy, this under demand side, and then the state can also intervene by doing what? By implementing the supply side policies. After that, we go further to the CPA, cost benefit analysis, which is then a tool that is used to compare the value of benefits, social benefits, and social cost. And in that case, we have to talk about reasons for the CPA, and also we have to be able to calculate the ratio of CPA and also cost benefit ratio, which is CPR. Remember, when you deal with the CPR, we check if the project is economically worthwhile or not. If ever the cost benefit ratio is more than 1, that means social benefits exceed social costs for the project. Therefore, the project must go on, must be undertaken by the government, or must continue. And then if ever social costs are greater than social benefits, that project is not economically worthwhile. It cannot continue because it contains most of negative externalities. And then we go further to say, whenever the CPR or cost benefit ratio equals to 1, that project is not economically worthwhile because social costs are equal to the social benefits. Therefore, the government must intervene again in few months to redo the CPA to check if there will be changes. Remember, when you deal with the CPA, the government can use 2 ways. We have the net present value and the net future value. The net present value is normally used based on the current prices and current inflation rate, also the current exchange rate. But the net future value is normally used whenever the project will be taking too long to predict or project the future interest rate, the future exchange rate, and the future inflation rate. That's just the summary of the whole content that we'll be covering here. Remember, today is not about teaching. However, I will be emphasizing. Mostly today, I'm just here to show you how questions can be asked in the examination and how are you expected to answer or respond to those questions. So our paper is out of 150. So the duration is 2 hours. You normally complain to say the time is not enough. The time will not be enough because you become inefficient on using time. The time is is allocated efficiently by the examiner. However, whenever you spend most of the time maybe you have to answer a certain question for 4 marks. You spend 10 minutes in there. We are already inefficient. We have been allocative inefficient, and for the entire question paper, you will be productive inefficient, because you will not be able to achieve the desired output on the given time, due to the fact that you did not allocate your time accordingly when you were answering your question. So 2 hours so far is enough for you to answer the whole question paper. Remember, you don't answer everything. You have to choose. So it comprises of 6 questions divided into 3 sections. I mean, 3 sections, and then in this case, we have section A, which is question 1. It's compulsory for 30 marks. We have noted when we're marking your section A or your paper 1, you are still undermining section A, but I did give an emphasis on that. Section A is very important. Do not put everything for you on essay. Remember, section A worth 30 marks, section C worth 40 marks. There is a slight difference of 10 marks in there. So you need to treat section A with respect, because if you forfeit those marks, that will mean you won't be able to balance yourself and achieve your target. And then section B consists of 3 questions. Is question 2, 3, and 4. You must answer only 2 questions. And then between question 2 to question 4. Section C consists of 2 questions. You answer 1 question. It is very important in section C that you don't bring your own question that has not been questioned in the examination. It is very important that in the examination you don't swap around additional parts. It is very important also in this section C that if we are given subheadings to discuss in detail, you don't bring your own subheading that were not there. They might be correct as for the content. However, if the examiner did not require you to bring those subheadings, you are given maybe 4 subheadings. Discuss those 4 subheadings if you have chosen the essay. Do not bring your own additional subheadings, because they won't be marked. They have not been examined. So in that case, be very careful in that case. We have seen when we're marking also your section C in paper 1, we are bringing your own subtopics which do not worth any mark, but is a time wasting for yourself if you answer and discuss the subheading that has not been discussed. So we have a multiple choice whereby it is very important for you to read the statement with understanding before you choose the correct answer. Avoid guessing, going in there for already having answers to write maybe C, 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 D, D, E. That doesn't work. You need to read each statement with understanding before you choose to answer the question. Be precise when choosing an answer, because between given options, one answer is correct, one answer is very close, and other answers are wrong. And then do not guess an answer. Contextualize, classify given options to the statement. Do not leave anything unattended. Provide all answers. Do not write one answer on top of another answer. It is very important to ensure that if ever you feel like the answer is wrong, you scratch the answer, you write the correct answer on the side, rather than writing on top of another answer, because the marker will not be able to see if the answer is really C or B if you do that. And remember, 1.1 is out of 16 marks. 1.2, you are expected to get total also here. You must know your description in terms of column A before you choose the correct answer in column B. If you actually know the description or definition of the option of column A, it is very simple for you to go then and identify the answer in column B. Always start with answers that you know. It is very important for you to be critical in this situation, because if you just follow the sequence of answering, once you get one answer wrong, that will mean there are high chances that you have got the second answer wrong. So if you choose the answer 1.2.1, the answer there, you choose the answer for 1.2.4, you have 2 answers wrong, you can end up getting 0. So it is very important for you to be very precise as you choose the options in there. Use elimination method by starting with what you know first, and then you can check later to see how much do I know, how much is left out. Then you start to make a link between those items that are left out. Thereafter, concentrate on the remaining options. Contextualize remaining options to column A, between column A and column B, then you get the answer correct. Do not leave any space unattended. That gives you 8 marks. 1.3, it is very important for you to know the terminology per chapter. Remember, your Mind the Gap study guide is giving you all definitions at the beginning of each chapter or topic, and then use Mind the Gap definitions given at the beginning of each topic. Do not use abbreviations. Remember, abbreviations and acronyms are not allowed in 1.3. Like we saw, the system of national accounts for paper 1 was asked in there. Then some of you might have wrote SNA, which will be wrong. You should write in full sentences. Do not leave anything unattended. That is 6 marks. Then section A is out of 40. out of 30, And then approaching the question paper, read each question with understanding before you attempt to answer. And then avoid early excitement when reading the question statement, because you might provide irrelevant information. Do not get in section A. Understand each question statement and relate to the given options. And then read data response with understanding while highlighting important information, and contextualize to make sense of where does it belong in your topics for economics. And then also improve your ability to link, because the question paper requires most of linking. You must give a synergy between such and such. You must know those concepts in there. And then also be smart when answering application questions. Remember, if you have to apply, you need to understand two concepts at the same time, then you can apply, so that you can make the pure sense. Answer in full sentences. Do not simply list wherever you have to discuss. Answer in full sentences, because listing might give you half a mark. And then let mark allocation determine time you can spend on each sub-question or subtopic. And then avoid leaving blank spaces in section A, even in section B and C. Avoid answering all three questions in section B. Remember, you are given a choice in there. And then also avoid answering both questions in section C. Remember, you have to choose. And then also be able to draw, analyze, and interpret graphs, cartoons, extracts, and data in section B, data responses. It is very important for you to do that. So there must be a skill that you must develop to analyze graphs or data response. When you are given the data response, you must simply analyze what is there before looking at the questions. Annotate in your answer sheet. Then in your question paper. After that, you go to to your answer sheet and the questions. You see that the same question that I'm looking at or I'm reading has already been answered by myself in the question paper. So it is very important for you to be able to analyze before you go to questions, because if you go to questions without analyzing, you will be copying answers in the data response while they are not even questioned. Be able to draw and interpret graphs for sections C when needed. And then be able to calculate cost and revenues, profit and loss, etc. For now, we don't have this one. And then know all of your graphs. It is very important, and they will be indicated here. So here we start with section B. Name two types of costs that are used to calculate the total cost of a firm. You remember we have the likes of variable cost as well as the fixed cost. And then also we continue mention two types of oligopolies. We have the likes of pure oligopoly and differentiated oligopoly. Remember, pure oligopoly is the oligopoly that produce homogeneous products, and then differentiated oligopoly is the oligopoly that produce differentiated products. And then we go further with the lower order, and then name any two examples of perfect markets. In this case, we talk about agricultural sector or industry, stock exchange or foreign exchange market, and then we talk about foreign exchange is there, and then JSE is also there. Name two examples of explicit cost. Remember, explicit costs are those costs that we regard as operational cost for the business. And then wages and salaries. And then we talk about lease payments. We talk about also cost of raw materials. Remember, we also have opposite of this, which is implicit cost, which are the costs that are mainly known by accountants and economists of the business. They are not known by everyone within the business. And then we continue with the lower order. We talk about the likes of give any two examples of fixed costs. So there can be a lot, but we mention only the few. Remember, fixed costs are the costs that do not change with the output. Regardless of the increase or the decrease in the output, fixed costs remain constant. In this case, we talk about the likes of insurance premiums, rent, lease contracts or property taxes. And then we talk about also depreciation. Salaries also are fixed. Mention any two types of inefficiencies that occur in the market. So remember, we have three that I mentioned before. We talk about the likes of productive or technical inefficiency. We also talk about allocative inefficiency. And then we talk about Pareto inefficiency. Remember, productive inefficiency will occur when when goods are not produced or made available at the right quantity, right quality, and the right time. When goods produced not satisfy the consumer utility. And then also allocative inefficiency occurs when available resources are not used to the optimal level. And then Pareto inefficiency occurs when it is impossible to make someone better without making someone worse off. And then we continue with the lower order also. Name any two groups of workers that benefit from minimum wage. So we are moving to the market failure, in this case, farm workers under agriculture. We talk about also domestic workers, and then we talk about expanded public work programs workers. And then we talk about leadership agreements, workers. They are the part of the minimum wage, or they are the beneficiaries of the minimum wage. Remember, the minimum wage is the lowest wage that workers should not be paid below within a specific industry. These are the industries that are affected by minimum wage in South Africa. Minimum wage is legislated by the government to ensure that people or workers are not exploited by their employers to lower wages and salaries, to ensure fair income distribution, to reduce poverty also. Then with the middle order in this case, why do businesses in the perfect market structure only make economic profit in the short run? So they make economic profit in the short run. So let's check, why do they make economic profit in the short run? So perfect market entry is free. In the long run, new firms or businesses would enter the market, which then raises competition. The rises in market competition reduce the long run profit. So in this case, let me just double check the question. Should be, why do businesses under perfect market make a normal profit in the long run? They make a normal profit. So this is answering to that. Businesses under perfect market make a normal profit in the long run because the market entry is completely free. As new firms enter the market, the competition will be increasing. So as the competition increases in the market, the profit enjoyed by businesses in the short run will be reduced to the normal profit in the long run. So as more businesses enter the market output will be increasing. However, the profits by existing businesses will be decreasing because they will be producing less due to the fact that there will be high level of competition. And remember, these businesses that are entering the market are taking consumers from existing firms, which lowers their profits in that long run. And then we'll continue. Why is it difficult for firms to enter oligopoly market? Remember that under oligopoly, there are some barriers to entry that exist to prevent the entry of new businesses. The market entry is not completely blocked. However, there are high barriers to entry. As much as they are not equal or similar to those of the monopolies, but under oligopoly, we have high barriers to entry that can prevent the entry of new businesses. So the market is protected by barriers to entry, which include the high capital requirement. For one business to operate under oligopoly, there must be high startup cost or high startup capital. And then also, infant businesses find it difficult to enter the market because they are not having enough capital. Also, there are some licenses that exist which are given by the government to prohibit the entry of new business that allow or guarantee businesses to be the only producers of a particular product. So also ownership of a natural resource can also be a reason or a barrier to entry that can be blocking the entry of new businesses. How is branding used to increase market share by firms in the market? Businesses sell products that are slightly different from those of their competitors to make them stand out, or to make them look superior and unique from those of the competitors. So whenever they brand their product, they try to ensure that their goods are not exactly the same to those of the competitors, but they appear being unique. So they ensure that as they brand their product, they create a good publicity for them. Then they will appear being superior than those of the competitors. Branding is conducted based on opinion of consumer or consumers to make their opinion matter. And then building customer loyalty, where a customer choose the firm product over that of the competitors. And then we continue. So we have a data response here. In this case, we are having the situation of market entry. New businesses are entering the market in this kind of the market. This is the perfect market structure indicated here. So you can see, how do we see that new business are entering the market? We see by the shift of the supply from left to the right. The supply curve is shifting, meaning the supply is increasing. The quantity supply increased from 100 to 140. And then look at the existing firms in there. Existing firms were producing at this point here, they were producing 600 units, but then with the increase in the competition in the market, it has resulted to what? To the drop or to the shift of the equilibrium position from E to E1, resulting to the drop of the profit from economic profit to the normal profit for this particular business here. You can see that this is the industry or the market. This is an individual firm that is involved here. So these are the question: where does the marginal cost curve intersect the average cost or AC? Remember, they intersect or they meet each other at MC intersect AC at its lowest point, which is E1 in the situation. Identify the price where the individual producer will make economic profit. So you check along here in which price between 10 and 100 where the firm will be making economic profit, and then briefly describe the term marginal cost. Why is the marginal revenue curve MR is the in the perfect market the same as the demand curve? Explain how long run equilibrium is achieved in this market. So where does the marginal cost curve MC intersect AC? The MC curve intersect AC curve at its minimum point, which is E1 according to the graph. Identify the price where the individual firm or producer will make economic profit. That was 10 rand. Briefly describe the term marginal cost. This is additional cost that incurred when one more unit is produced. So this is the we call it the cost that incur when an extra additional unit has been produced. And then we go further. Why is the marginal cost curve MR in the perfect market the same as the demand curve? Each additional unit would be sold at the same price, which is the horizontal demand curve. Remember, under imperfect markets like monopoly, MR and AR are not the same because each additional unit sold are not sold at the same price due to the fact that the firm will always increase the price to decrease the output and decrease the price to increase the output. But the situation is not similar under perfect market because each and every additional unit to be sold will be sold at the same price, which result to MR being similar to AR under the perfect market. Explain how long run equilibrium is achieved in the in the market. Economic profits attract new entrants into the market. We know that if ever in the short run firms are enjoying economic profit, that attract the entry of new business into the market, and because of that, as new businesses are attracted into the market, the profit that was enjoyed will be reduced because there will be high level of competition for the existing firms caused by the entry of new firms. As new firms enter the market, they increase the market competition. When the market competition increases, that will mean that the market share for businesses that were existing will be reduced slightly due to the increase in competition, which will be lowering their output size as individual firms and also decreasing their profits. So the individual firm is a price taker, and the lower the price will wipe out economic profits until the price average revenue will be equal to the average cost. The long run equilibrium position is where normal profit will prevail. So we know that as for the perfect market, the long run is where we have a normal profit. So put it in your picture. Whenever new firms enter the market, they increase competition. As they increase competition, the market entry increase, meaning the market output will be increasing, pushing the price down. As the price is going down, on the other hand, firms that are existing will be pushed to produce less because of the increase in competition due to the loss of market share, and they will be then be selling their goods at the lower cost because they are the price takers. If the market lower the price, market forces intersect to lower the price, the firm must take the lower price, which will be reducing profits enjoyed by business under perfect market and shifting the equilibrium from the top equilibrium to the lower equilibrium point. Remember, the equilibrium point or position for the firm under perfect market is flexible, unlike the one of the monopoly. The one for the monopoly is not flexible because the firm under the monopoly is a price setter, so it decides on which price to be asked for on a certain quantity. But under perfect market, firms in there are price takers. They have no influence over the price. However, they only have an option to decide on the output to be produced at the given price. And then giving data response again. We are given here barriers to entry, investment capital, we have the branding, we have intellectual property and patents, we have regulations and licenses. These are some barriers to entry that exist in the market. The capital requirement becomes a barrier to entry. And then also intellectual property and patents become a barrier to entry because intellectual property allows one to own exclusive rights to be a producer of a product. And then also patents, remember, those are licenses given by the government to businesses, allowing them to be the main producers of the product without any competitor. And then also regulations and licenses. So these are some barriers to entry. In the above cartoon, identify a barrier to entry used by the monopolistic competitor to increase its market share. In this case, we talk about branding, and then name the type of monopoly that is characterized by use of patents. That's an artificial monopoly. Briefly describe the term economies of scale. In economics, it occurs when the firm or the business can produce more goods and services at the lower cost per unit and sell them at the lower cost per unit. How would barriers to entry influence profits in the market? As there are high barriers to entry, businesses find themselves without huge competition. For that sake, they keep on enjoying abnormal profits or high supernormal profits in both short run and long run. Why is is it a challenge for monopolistic to charge excessively high prices? Remember, the monopolistic competition is faced by high. Let's check the monopolies. Why is it a challenge for monopolies to charge excessively high prices? Monopoly is not monopolistic. Okay, let's go further there and see your memorandum in there. So in the above cartoon, identify the barrier to entry. We talk about investment, capital, and branding. Name the type of monopoly. We talk about artificial monopoly or legal monopoly. Remember, artificial monopoly prevail or occurs when barriers to entry are not economic in nature. That's when businesses are protected by licenses, are protected by exclusive rights, are protected by patents. That creates an artificial monopoly because it is not created by natural barriers to entry. Barriers to entry that have formed that kind of the monopoly are artificial. Briefly describe the term economies of scale. Economies of scale is when output increases by more than the percentage increase in inputs, when the cost per unit decreases, when output expands. And then we go further. Why would the barrier to entry influence profits in the market? So, how would it influence profits? New businesses are restricted to enter the market, and existing businesses will enjoy economic profit in both the short run and long run because of barriers to entry. However, that profit can mainly be achieved if total revenues are more than total cost, or average revenues are more than average cost. Remember. Why is it a challenge for monopolies to charge excessively high prices? Monopoly is limited by the market demand, and consumers may stop buying if prices are too high. Yes, however, remember, based on the same response, if ever the product does not have any perfect substitute, or cannot be substituted, that will mean even if the price increases, consumers will keep on demanding the product, because remember, we mentioned before that the demand for the monopoly is downward sloping and relatively inelastic, concurring to the fact that the firm does not have any competitor. The increase in price does not create huge change in quantity demanded because consumers are not having any alternative having. If ever the consumer choose not to buy from the monopoly, the consumer will go without the product. So I'm emphasizing on that not to confuse you on the above answer. Consumers have limited budget, therefore monopolies cannot charge excessive prices. Monopoly's products still has to compete for consumer favor with all other products in the economy. The price increase are sometimes regulated by the government to protect the consumer. Remember, the Commission Policy Act of South Africa is there to ensure that consumers are not exploited by business to high prices. And then here we are given the information of the Commission to probe pricing of fresh fruits. In this content, we are talking about the Commission Policy Act of South Africa, which was formed in 1998 to ensure that there's a healthy competition between businesses, to prevent power abuse by monopolies and oligopolies, to ensure that the market and the economy attract foreign direct investors, and also allow participation of SMMEs in the economy. Their main objectives. So 3 commission bodies were formed to ensure that there is a fair competition in the economy, to investigate the competition or unfair competition or restrictive practice or anti-competitive behavior by businesses. In there, we talk about the Commission, the Commission Tribunal, and Commission Appeals Court that were formed under Commission Policy Act of South Africa to ensure healthy competition between businesses. So here we go. The Commission seeks to investigate pricing and fair play in the fresh fruit market. The Commission will investigate the effects where producers have engaged in unethical trading techniques that impede, restrict, or distort competition. And then here we go. Name the institution responsible for investigation unethical commercial behavior in the market. Which institution role in the commission policy is similar to that of the High Court. Briefly explain the term collusion. What do the South African government want to achieve with the commission policy? How does the price fixing disadvantage small and medium enterprises in the fruit businesses. So here we go. Name the institution responsible. We call that commission. Remember, the commission is an institution or body under commission policy. Police Act of South Africa that investigate or does the primary investigation on reported unethical behavior of businesses, where businesses have been reported or alleged to have been involved in restrictive practices or anti-competitive behavior. So, who does primary investigation? It is the commission. And then which institution role in the commission is similar to that of the High Court? The Competition Appeals Court. Remember, the Competition Appeals Court act as the High Court of Competition in South Africa. Briefly explain the term collusion. An arrangement between businesses with the aim of limiting competition between them by fixing prices or production techniques. Remember, if we talk about the collusion, we can go a long way where we explain different types of collusion, namely the implicit collusion and explicit collusion. If we talk of an implicit collusion, we refer to hidden or tacit collusion, which is collusion that occurs when businesses copy each other's strategies without any formal agreement or formal discussion. We also have explicit collusion, which is the collusion that is also called what you call an overt collusion. That is the type of collusion that occurs when businesses discuss and form a formal agreement to do price fixing and change production techniques. There's a formal agreement in there. Remember, implicit collusion is influenced highly by the price leadership process, and explicit collusion is highly influenced by what we call the cartels, which is the association between business within the industry, where they discuss production techniques and prices. And then we continue. Why do the South African government, what do the South African government want to achieve through the commission policy? To promote efficiency. So here you simply list objectives of Commission Policy Act of South Africa. To promote efficiency in the economy, provide consumers with competitive prices, and then promote employment, encourage South Africa to participate in world markets and accept foreign competition in South Africa, enable SMME, small, micro, and medium enterprises to participate in the economy, to allow previously disadvantaged to increase their ownership or procurement in the economy. In terms of businesses, how does price fixing disadvantage small and medium enterprises in this kind of the market in fresh fruit businesses? Price fixing will increase the cost of small and medium enterprises, resulting in high prices for consumers. High prices will then lead to a decline in customers or consumers, which will result in businesses making losses and eventually shutting down. Remember, small businesses are not having enough capital. They operate at a smaller scale, but if they will be involved in collusive behavior, then they might be forced in that part of the group to sell their products relatively high, which will result to them losing their consumers. And they can even shut down, like is mentioned here. Here we are given the effect of the subsidy. We are on the market failure now, the consequence of market failure. So in this case, you can see once the subsidy is given, remember the subsidy or production subsidy is a kind of cash or grant or financial support given by the government to business to produce more goods and services at the lower cost. That result to the increase in aggregate supply within the economy. So whenever the subsidy has been given, the market supply will be shifting from S to S1, resulting to the increase in quantity supplied, and that will be pushing the price down because the supply increase faster than the demand. Then here are the questions. Identify the market price from the graph above. Name any one example of direct subsidy. Briefly describe the term subsidy. Explain the benefit of subsidies to producers. Use the above graph to show, explain the effect of subsidy on the consumer. Let's check. Identify the price from the graph above, the market price, that is P, and then name any one example of direct subsidy, that's a cash grant, and then interest, which is free loans. Briefly describe the term subsidy, a financial assistance by the government to consumers and producers of goods and services. Remember, for the producer, they are encouraged to produce more goods and services and sell them in large quantities and also sell them at the lower cost. For the consumer, whenever subsidy is given to the product or to the finished product, that is known as a subsidy on product. That subsidy will result to consumers having to access goods at the lower cost within the market, so they will be most affordable. How do subsidies benefit producers? Subsidies help producers to produce at the lower cost. So as they produce at the lower cost, they will be producing large quantity of goods and services. Use the above graph to explain the effect of subsidy to consumer. So the provision of a subsidy will reduce the price paid by the consumer. Like I've mentioned before, the price will be lower, will be most affordable from P to P1, and then the quantity demanded will also increase from Q to Q1 if ever consumers are exposed to subsidies on products. And then we move to 8 marks questions. It is very important for you that when you answer these questions, you look at the mark allocation. You answer according to the question requirements. Do not just give 2 sentences and leave. You cannot achieve 8 marks for 2 sentences. There is no miracles on such. If ever you are given 8 marks question, let's say it's a content knowledge which is 2.4, 3.4, 4.4, you must briefly discuss that content or give the difference between those topics. But if it's a higher order also, you need to really go an extra mile to apply the content to the existing world, because normally you are given a chance to why question, how question, and what impact, as well as evaluation questions. One single question or make the order, e.g., explain, briefly discuss, distinguish, or differentiate between draw a graph, a correct graph, or draw a correct label graph, and explain, use the given graph and explain. In that case, that's a make order, because the content that you'll be dealing with can be found in your notes or your textbook. And then one single question for 2.5, higher order question, e.g., how, why, or evaluate. Higher order responses or questions are grounded in the content. These types of questions test critical thinking, where candidates should be able to apply their knowledge through logical reasoning, and also have an awareness of their current economic climate. So it is very important for you to attempt this kind of the question, that will prepare your mind, because it is grounded on the content knowledge. However, you need to apply the most. It's unlike 2.4, because in 2.4, that's when now you simply discuss the notes that are given to you in your textbook or in your notes by your educator. 2.4, 3.4, 4.4, how can you score marks? Know your content, because these questions are just the content knowledge which is available in your learning aids. And then be smart when answering, use point form, but answer in full sentence. Do not list, because if you list, you find yourself getting the maximum of 4 marks. You need to discuss here full sentences. Give the minimum of 4 full sentences in order to get full marks for 8 marks. But you can go beyond 4 points if you are not interested with some of the above points you have mentioned. 2.5, 3.5, 4.5. Be able to apply the content into the real world. Critical thinking is the key to answering these questions. Learners must display their analysis and evaluation skills. It is very important that you don't repeat the one answer from the top to the bottom, but be critical, be open, apply the content, use your knowledge to link the content to the existing one. Use the graph of total cost, TC, and total revenue, TR, to explain the profit maximization. Remember, this is the graph that was required for you to draw for 8 marks. So in this case, you have the quantity, we have costs and revenues on the horizontal quantity. So you have your total revenue that is upward sloping from 0, and then your total cost that is moving just slightly above your TR and going up there. So you have your point A in there, which indicates a normal profit. Your point B also indicates a normal profit. Why? Because TR equals to TC in point A and point B. However, where are we actually maximizing our profit? The profit is maximized at quantity 4, if I'm not mistaken, where the total cost further away from total revenues. You can see in this position the TC is far away from TR. Then the firm will be maximizing its profit. So it is very important for you to know the following. If ever you are given a chance to draw the graph, there will be labeling of axis and then labeling on axis. So there's a difference between this. There is where you write the quantity and the price. That's a labeling on axis. Labeling of axis is whereby you put numbers or variables on your vertical and horizontal. That also for 1 mark. Correct slope of total cost, there we see is correct. Correct slope of total revenue, there we see is correct. And then there was only 4 marks for the graph. And then there must be graph explanation. Remember, the question requires you to explain. At all points where total revenues TR is above total cost, the firm is making economic profit. At all points where total cost is above total revenue, the firm is making economic loss. The gap between TR and TC represent the profit. Profit is maximized when the gap between TR and TC is the greatest or is too wide. This occurs as quantity number 4. Any other correct answer is accepted for 4 marks. Then here you are given, let's look at the question. With the aid of a graph, explain why oligopolies will not charge higher or lower prices to gain market share. Remember, oligopolies are very much interdependent to one another. They always avoid compete using prices because they avoid the price war. So in this case, we are given the King demand curve that we're supposed to use. So remember, we have a top segment and the bottom segment. So a top segment and the bottom segment. The top segment is relatively elastic, because whenever one firm decides to charge the price above 50, which is the collusive price, going to 90, consumers will be very sensitive because other firms won't be increasing their price to avoid losing their market share. So consumers will be very sensitive to the increase in price and choose not to demand from this firm, but they will be demanding from other competitors because they are still selling at the lower price, which is 50 in this case. So that is creating the elastic demand curve or top segment. And then the bottom segment is created in this case. If one firm under oligopoly decides to lower the price with the aim of achieving high level of profit against its competitors, other firms might even decide to lower their prices too to avoid losing their consumers to this competitor. For that sake, this firm that tried to lower the price initially will be losing the most, because other firms will copy the strategy by lowering the price, meaning any expected profit by this firm will be lost immediately if other firms are also lowering their prices from 50 to 20 rand. You can see that the firm will only achieve about 5 units in addition to what it was selling before. So the firm will not be achieving whatever it wanted to achieve. Let's look at the question now. We have to calculate total revenues to answer the question here. With the aid of a graph, explain why oligopolies will not charge high or lower prices. The collusive price, which is 50 rand here, is very important for the firm because it gives the firm highest level of total revenues. So if ever in this case one firm decides to increase the price from 50 to 90, it will be experiencing the decrease in total revenues. And then if the firm decreases the price from 50 to 20, the firm will also experience the decrease in total revenues. Therefore, they will be reluctant on lowering the price or increasing the price. Instead, they will decide rather to use collusive price. So let's use total revenues. TR equal to total revenue equal to P times 2. Then let's see. At point A, this is point A. The price is 90 and the quantity is 10. So P times 2, 90 times 10 is 900. Then we go further to see in point B. And then at point B, the price is 50. This is 50. And then the quantity is 30. This is quantity. So we say 50 times 30 is 1,400. You can note already that at this 50 as a collusive price, the firm will be making more total revenues compared to when the price is 90. The decrease in price from 90 to 50 increases total revenues from 900 to 1,500. The oligopoly firm can choose to sell its goods at 50 rand because it can get more revenues. Selling at 90 rand result in a firm earning less total revenues. Therefore, the firm will rather sell at 50 rand than at 90 because at 90 it achieves highest total revenues. And then why are equilibrium positions for the perfect commodity not sustainable in the long run? Remember, the short run equilibrium for the firm under perfect market is the economic profit or supernormal profit. But in the long run equilibrium is what? It's normal profit. We have answered this question before. So market entry is completely free. Firms are free to enter the market. Remember, in the long run, factors of production are all flexible. They can change. So new firms can enter the market easily because they have enough capital. As they enter the market in the long run, existing firms in the short run experience the highest level of competition to the point that within the market there will be increase in the market output, which will be pushing prices down because supply will be increasing faster than the demand. Because of that, the firm as a price taker will have to take the price which has been lowered, which will be pushing the equilibrium position down. Also at the same time, the firm is making a normal profit because as new firms are entering the market, the profit is reduced from economic profit to the normal profit. So profits are signals for the entry of new businesses and extension of current businesses. So we know that if firms are making a profit in the short run, that attract the entry of new firms to enter the market. New technology developed, leading to the increase in supply in the market. And then the quantity offered by businesses in the market increase, indicating mass production. The increase in the supply lead to the decrease in price due to lower cost per unit within the market. And then we continue. All businesses in the industry will make normal profit and produce at the minimum of the long run, a long-term average cost curve. The economic loss will lead to some business leaving the market, and the supply will then be decreasing. The decrease in supply will lead to an increase in the price until it is the same level as the long run average cost. If businesses are able to turn their losses to profits, they will make a normal profit over a long run. Any other correct answer is accepted for 8 marks. Remember, it should be a full sentence. Draw a well-labeled graph to illustrate long-run equilibrium for the firm under the monopoly. Remember, when we talk about the monopoly, we say the monopoly achieved economic profit in both short run and the long run. Why we say that? We are saying that because of this idea that the firm is the only supplier of a unique product without any perfect substitute. So in that case, the firm should be making economic profit in both the short run and the long run. However, the firm can make economic loss in the long run if ever its total costs are more than total revenues, or average costs are more than average revenues. So here is the graph being drawn here. We have our what we call long run average revenues, and then long run average, marginal revenue, and then long run average cost, and then here we have long run marginal cost. So this indicates economic profit. Why we say it's an economic profit? It is because we can see that the AC is 4, then the AR at this point is 6. So revenues are more than the cost that incurred in the business. So shaded area indicates economic profit. And then as for the graph, it was only 8 marks with the graph being drawn. So labeling of axis was 1 mark. That is when we say quantity and the price or cost and revenues. Correct sloping and labeling of AR, we can see is correct. And then avoid making a mistake by saying this is MR, this is AR. Do not confuse your curves in there. And then correct drawing label or labeling and positioning of AC curve, we can see it's well positioned, it's turning at the right point. Correct drawing and labeling of MC, we can see it's correct and being a Nike shape. And then correct indication of profit maximization, that's point C indicated there. That's point C indicated there, where MC equals to MR. And then correct area of profit, there you can see shaded area is a profit, indicate the profit or economic profit. And then microeconomics essays. Here we talk about a variety of essays that you can expect. Number 1, they can say discussing detailed variance equilibrium positions with the aid of graphs under the perfect market. So here, remember, for you to discuss that question, you need to explain the profit condition, economic profit condition, draw the graph, explain the graph. Explain normal profit condition, draw the graph, explain the graph, or interpret the graph. Explain economic loss condition, draw the graph, interpret the graph. Discuss the monopoly in detail, with or without aid of graphs. In this case, we are discussing maybe characteristics of monopoly, or you are discussing equilibrium positions for the monopoly. Examine oligopoly in detail. That's when we discuss characteristics of the oligopoly in detail. Compare and contrast any 2 types of market structure. In this case, they can choose for you to say perfect market maybe to monopoly, monopoly to oligopoly, oligopoly to monopolistic. It will depend. So you must be equipped. Remember, when you answer the essay of market structures, the content is similar. However, as you write your subheadings, it will not be similar, because if you do the market structure, you don't say maybe under monopoly there is 1 seller. You say number of sellers, number of buyers and sellers as a structure. That's a mark for you if it was not given by the examiner. And then also nature of product. That's a mark if it was not given by the examiner. Then after that, you discuss nature of product produced by the monopolies. And then discuss in detail how the following factors or reasons for the market failure can lead to the misallocation of resources. So in this case, be very careful. We call them reasons for the market failure as we teach you. However, as you go to the essay can be according to the exam guideline to say discuss in detail how the following reason can lead to misallocation of resources. Be very careful here. You can be given some reasons. Remember, we have 6 reasons for the market failures. So you can be given some reasons to discuss. So avoid bringing reasons that have not been asked from you. So answer what has been questioned by the examiner. Also, it is very important for you to answer in detail. And then also discuss in detail state intervention as a consequence of market failures, with or without graphs. So in this case, also remember the state intervention is having some graphs that are in there. I think we have 5 of graphs that you can draw under state intervention. Be able to draw those graphs, explain, interpret them, explain the condition before the graph. Let's say we are talking about the price ceiling. Be able to discuss in detail the price ceiling and its effect. Then you draw the graph, you interpret the graph, just like that. All right, so these are the essays that you can expect tomorrow in your question 5 and your question 6. Hopefully, you will be fortunate. It is very important for you to know the perfect market graphs and the what you call characteristics. It is very important for you to know monopoly graphs and also the characteristics in detail. Also, oligopoly behavior in detail, and then also comparing market structure. That will be one of the easy questions that can come in your examination. But you must have a good way to discuss the market structure. And then let me touch on this one, discussing detail how the following factors can lead to the misallocation of resources. All right, so in this case, we talk about the market failure. Remember, if we talk about the market failure occurs when goods are undersupplied or oversupplied within the market, or when there is a misallocation of resources to the point that goods are not produced and supplied at the right quantity, right quality, and the right time. So in this situation, we have the likes of reasons for the market failure that include, firstly, we talk about missing markets. So if we talk of missing markets, we normally say the market is totally incomplete without the provision or the supply of public goods and services. Remember, public goods are goods that are produced and provided by the government to the entire society. In there, you talk about 2 types of public goods, namely community goods and collective goods. Remember, community goods are goods that are provided by the government free of charge to the entire society. E.g., we talk about the street lights and traffic lights, etc. And then, remember, community goods are free riders because we don't pay for them. And then we talk about collective goods. Those are goods that are provided by the government to those that are willing to pay for them, but they're made available for everyone. But those that are willing to pay for them can access them. Remember, how do they differ in the collective goods to community goods? Collective goods are provided through user charges. They are not provided through the market price, but they are provided through the user charges. They are levies that are imposed by the government on the provision of those collective goods and services. Why they are user charges? So that the government can be able to maintain that kind of the infrastructure that provides those goods and services. All right, then we continue. Remember, there are some characteristics of public goods and services where we say they are indivisible, non-excludability, community goods are free riders, and then also we talk about non-excludability, non-rivalries. Those are some characteristics of what we call of the public goods and services. And then remember, public goods are supplied by the government because the market is not willing to produce them. Why? Due to the fact that it is difficult for the market to simply derive the satisfaction gained by consumers or society on those goods and services. Also because there is no proper mechanism that the market can use to put prices on public goods and services. Imagine the government or the private sector having to provide traffic lights, having to provide street lights. You know that the street light, when it's on for everyone around the area. So if we have to pay for that, it will be difficult for other people to pay because they will be getting satisfaction even if they did not pay for the street light. That's why the market does not supply those public goods and services, but instead the government intervenes to supply those public goods and services. And then continuously we talk about merit goods. Remember, merit goods are goods that are beneficial into the society. They contain only positive externalities. Those are goods that include the likes of education, healthcare services, as well as what we call defense force or security services within the country. They are very important for the welfare of the nation, and the issue is they are undersupplied by the market. The market is undersupplying these goods because people are not willing to pay for them. So for that sake, the government intervened to provide them as what we call merit goods. And then we talk about demerit goods. The demerit goods are goods that are harmful into the society. They contain negative externalities. Those goods include the likes of the cigarette, alcohol, drugs, firearms, etc. Those are harmful into the society. So they are highly demanded in the economy. They are highly desired in the market. However, the government intervened to prohibit the overconsumption of these demerit goods because they are harmful into the society. They bring about high level of negative externalities. That's why now they are undersupplied within the market because of regulations by the government. Not that people are not willing to buy these goods, they are willing to buy these goods in large quantities. However, the government intervened by through legislation by controlling the market to ensure that it does not oversupply these goods because they are harmful into the society. And then we go further again, we talk about maybe lack of information. So under lack of information, we refer to a situation whereby if ever information is not made adequate or sufficient or enough for both consumers, producers, and workers, that will lead to them making an informed decision within the market. There will be high level of inefficiency. If consumers are not having enough information about the prevailing market conditions, they will be making poor decisions, wasting their resources, buying goods that they do not desire. What kind of information I'm talking about here? I'm referring to the information that is very important. The information like for the consumer, where they can find the product, and then at what quality, at what price. Also, it is very important for the consumer to know the ingredients used to produce the product so that they cannot demand the product if ever they are allergic to the product. That will make them to make well-informed decisions. Also, for the for the producer, it is very important for producers to have complete information about the market, to prevent the principal agent information, to prevent the asymmetric information. If we talk about an asymmetric information, we refer to the information whereby one party have more information than another party. So that is also known as the principal agent information. So for producers, they need to know the market where they can find cheaper factors of production. If they are not well informed about that, they will keep on buying their machinery and equipment in the market that is very much expensive. So it is very important for them to get adequate information. What about workers? Workers must obtain adequate information about the prevailing market conditions so that they will be making well-informed decisions. Imagine you are looking for the job, then you get the job. If you don't, inquire for enough information, you can end up taking the job only to find that you won't be paid in a monthly basis. You will be paid weekly, or you won't be paid a basic salary, but you will be paid on a commission. So in that case, you find yourself not getting paid because you did not work. So it is very important for the worker to get enough information. Then also, they must know the risk of the job as they choose. They must choose the job and know it's risky. Because without knowing the risk of the job, you choose to be maybe the fire extinguisher. You find that now the situation is there, you must go and deliver yourself. Then you say, I won't go there. How can you say that? Because when you chose the job, you knew the risk of the job. That's why we are saying you must know the pure information about the prevailing market condition. You must know information about the job before you choose it. So that's information. And then we talk about immobility of factors of production. In this case, we say total factors of production are totally immobile. They are not flexible enough. For instance, the labor cannot easily be moved from one place to another. Labor cannot be increased in the short run because labor takes time to be skilled. It can take the minimum of 3 to 7 years for the labor to be ready for the labor market. Therefore, it is difficult for one to increase the quantity of labor in the short run. So labor is not flexible. It is not easy for one to leave one job to another job in the short space of time. Why? It is because one should serve a notice at least for 3 months before leaving the job. One also is having some family ties and some logistics that will keep the person tied in his old work, not to move to the new work. For instance, if ever one have to move to the certain province from Gauteng, that will need the person maybe to get the accommodation that might not be available immediately. That can need someone also to move with the family, and also having to find the school for children. That might take time. Like this time of the year, it is difficult to get the school for children because it's already late. So in that case, it can be difficult for one to simply move from one work to another as a part of labor. Also, what about capital? Capital cannot easily be moved from one place to another. For instance, we talk about offices. If we have beautiful offices in Gauteng, can it be easy for us to relocate them if we are moving to another province? No, we cannot move offices because they are not mobile. We must leave them in Gauteng and build new offices in another province, which will be now a part of inefficiency because we are spending on what we already have in another province. So capital cannot be moved easily. Also, machines cannot be created to be multi-use. For instance, you cannot convert the photocopying machine to be a micro oven. You can't do that because machines are created for a single purpose. So for that sake, capital cannot be flexible from one use to another. Also, entrepreneurs. We talk about, in this case, business entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs cannot simply shift their skill from one skill to another. If we are an educator, you are there to teach. You cannot be a nurse or the doctor. We can't lie about that. So we cannot shift our skill from one use to another because our skill is fixed at the time with the qualifications that we have. So it is difficult for entrepreneurs to shift their skill from one use to another. If you are a geologist, you cannot simply shift to become an economist without having a proper skill and qualification. That's why we say entrepreneurs cannot be flexible enough. And then we go further again to what we call the next part of market failure. But for now, we are taking 1 minute break. I'll be back to continue with the essay. All right, we continue again with the same essay. We talk about the imperfect competition or imperfect market structure. Remember, if we talk about imperfect market structure, we refer to the market structure that do not comply to the regulations of the perfect market. So in this situation, we know the tendency of imperfect market, the likes of monopolies, oligopolies, and monopolistic competition. Monopolies always increase their prices to decrease the output size, and they exploit consumers to high prices, and also they are protected by barriers to end that prevent the end of new business, which limit the competition in the market. That's a bad thing. Also, we talk about oligopolies. They involve themselves in collusive practices where they can do price fixing. So that's also bad for the market as a part of the imperfect market structure. And then also, the imperfect market structure takes time to adapt to what? To the new technical trends, because they want to keep on maximizing their profits now than even adopting the new technology. For instance, in South Africa, we already have electronic vehicles, but they are not used because the market is delaying to adopt that new technology. So those are some issues of what you call of the imperfect market structure, if I'm hinting. And then we go to unfair income distribution. Remember, the income distribution is unfair. But then, if the initial income distribution is unfair, the total will also be unfair, which will always create unfairness. What is causing unfair income distribution in the economy? It can be caused by the fact of maybe discriminatory laws that were done previously, lack of education, and then it can be so many reasons that we can count that are causing unfair income distribution. Then now, remember, whenever we are having the issue of unfair income distribution, goods are only produced for those who can afford. If people cannot afford goods and services, they go without those goods and services. So that becomes a problem within the market, because if you do not afford the product, you go without the product because of the unfair income distribution. So let's go further and see what we have here. So we have collusion here, briefly discussed, okay, the collusion, like it was discussed before, the overt collusion. Remember, the overt is an explicit, the tacit is an implicit. So remember, if we talk about an overt collusion, we refer to when oligopolies collude openly and formally through cartel. They discuss in there. Remember, a cartel is an association between firms to discuss price fixing and production techniques. Cartel is an association of oligopolies businesses that comes into existence in an industry with the specific aim of forming a collective monopoly. Cartels control the production of goods, and this influences the prices of the product. Overt or explicit collusion pertains formal agreement between businesses within the pure oligopoly to influence the price or production techniques to keep their profits high. And then we continue with the same question. The tacit collusion, which is known as the hidden collusion, remember, it's a hidden collusion or implicit collusion. The behavior by firms is motivated by an arrangement that is not formally unspoken actions between oligopolies of firms that are likely to minimize competitive response. Tacit or implicit collusion occurs through price leadership process. Remember, the price leadership occurs when one firm sets the price on behalf of other firms within the oligopolies industry. And then we continue. Tacit collusion. It does not include any formal agreement between competitors. The market interdependence creates mutually where competitors copy each other's profitable decisions. Meaning, if one firm is making a profitable decision, other firm can copy that decision so that they can also avoid losing their market share and make high profits without any formal agreement, without any formal discussion. That's an implicit collusion, hidden collusion, or tacit collusion, which is highly informed by what? By the price leadership process. A price leader are usually the strongest and most dominant businesses whose production cost is lowest, but can also be firms that understand market signals very well without sales dominance. So there's this thing that we call a price leader. A price leader can be the firm that is most dominant in the industry or market, or can be the firm that is small, but however, this firm, as much as it is an infant firm, but it is understanding market signals better than any other firm in the industry. So as it sets prices, other firms will be following because they clearly understand that the firm can understand market signals very, very well. Here we are given the PPC with the aid of a graph. PPC explain how productive and allocative efficiencies can be achieved in the market. So let's look at this. You had to draw the graph for 8 marks. All right, so you have your product, which is production of a rice in your horizontal, and then a production of a maize in your, what you call, in your vertical. Then remember, you have your PPC, which is concave. It touches both axes. Then we say it is concave, not convex. The convex one is indifferent curve, but this one is concave. So look, we have points here on the PPC. We use points to explain the situation of efficiencies and inefficiencies. So points inside the PPC simply tells you that there's a misallocation of resources. It tells you that resources are not used to their optimal level. They are not used to the maximum level. For instance, you might be given 10,000 to produce goods. You only spend 2,000. What about 8,000? Has not been spent. Here we are. We are inside the PPC, on the left of the PPC. So any point on the left of the PPC indicate that resources have not been used to their optimal level. So this point indicates both allocative inefficiency and productive inefficiency. And then we go further to the points along the PPC. The point A, point B, point C, and point D. All of these points indicate what? They indicate allocative efficiency because resources have been all used to the optimal level. All resources here have been used. So we can say we've allocated our resources efficiently because there is no shortage. However, you must check one point. If we talk of point A, that means all resources we use to produce the maize production. We produce nothing in what we call rice production. So that means if a consumer demand a rice, there will be zero output. That simply means now there's a productive inefficiency in point D if the consumer is demanding point D while we produce at A. Same thing apply when the consumer demand at point D. Here the consumer demands point A, but we have produced, we spent all resources to produce 1,200 quantities of rice, but then we produce nothing on the maize meal. Then one consumer come to demand a certain quantity of maize meal. That simply means now the consumer will be going without the product because we did not produce anything on the maize meal. On the maize meal. For that sake, this point A, become productive inefficiency also. This depends on where you put your situation on. However, the point B, that is the point on the indifferent curve, indicate the purely allocative efficiency because resources have been used accordingly in there. You can see that we have both the production of maize meal and the production of the rice. Also, check the point outside the PPC is unattainable. The firm cannot afford to achieve at the point F. Why? It is because the budget we have, or the money we have, or capital we have is not enough for us to achieve at this point. It's more like we are having 10,000. You want to demand something that worth 50,000. You don't have 40,000 extra to demand here. So you can only demand what you can afford, which will be along the PPC. So any point outside the PPC indicates is unattainable or unachievable. The points on the left of the PPC are achievable. However, they indicate both allocative inefficiency and productive or technical inefficiency. The points along the PPC, the point A, B, C, D, they indicate allocative efficiency. However, they indicated productive efficiency. All of these points, they indicated productive efficiency. However, the point B, where there is an indifferent curve touching what we call PPC, that point indicates purely allocative efficiency. So this depends on the situation. So productive efficiency can be achieved if the firm produces at any point along the PPC, like I mentioned. That is any point from point A to point D. Allocative efficiency can be achieved when IC is tangent to PPC. That point where the indifferent curve was touching the what we call the PPC. That point is what we call allocative efficiency. This occurs at point B in the graph. This is point B. And then we continue. Here are the market structures. In case here you are requested or asked or examined to discuss market structures either for 8 marks or for 26 marks in your essay. Here we see, like you have seen before in your class, whenever you discuss the market structure, this is perfect market, monopoly, monopolistic, and oligopoly. Number of sellers. If you have to provide the heading, you will say number of sellers. If it was not given by the examiner that worth a mark, then you discuss to say under perfect market, there are many buyers and sellers. There's a high level of competition. Okay? And then you talk about nature of products, maybe under monopoly. Nature of products under monopoly, the products are unique or heterogeneous. Unique products that are not similar to any other product in the market. They don't contain any close or perfect substitutes. You talk about price determination. Let's say under oligopoly, under monopolistic. Monopolistic firms are the price setters. They have a considerable control over the price. Those are monopolistic businesses. And then we also talk about the demand curve. Let's check maybe oligopoly. The demand curve. So that's why you will be telling that the demand curve for the oligopoly is keyed. It is downward sloping but keyed with 2 segments, namely the top segment and bottom segment. The top segment is relatively elastic and the bottom segment is relatively inelastic. And then we continue with the table for the market structure. The output size, you check maybe for the perfect market. You write output size as a heading, you get the mark. Then you start to answer. There is a large output size under perfect market due to the fact that there's a highest level of competition. And then market entry and exit, you check maybe monopoly. So you market entry and exit or barriers. Market barriers. Then you explain to say the market entry is completely blocked. New firms are not allowed to enter the market. High barriers to entry exist to block the entry of new businesses. Those barriers can be artificial or natural barriers to entry. There is one producer of a certain product within the market. Availability of information. Maybe we talk about the perfect market. So you tell us information, then you explain the market information is complete under perfect market. Consumers and producers are having adequate information about the prevailing market conditions. And then you talk about long run profits. Maybe you go straight to the monopoly. That's when now you'll be saying long run profits. You explain to say in the long run, monopolies enjoy economic profits or supernormal profits when their average revenues are more than their average cost, or when their total revenues are more than their total cost, or when the average cost curve is turning up is turning below the average revenues. Then this is your market structure. This shows you the example in case you are required to discuss or compare and contrast the market structure. Let me also give you something. In case you come across an essay where you have to compare the market structure, maybe for the monopoly and the perfect market, you start maybe number of buyers and sellers. You need to indicate that to say under perfect market. That is very important to say. Under perfect market, there are many buyers and sellers, right? Then you keep on explaining to say there's a high level of competition. The market entry is too accessible to other business to enter the market. There's high competition. Then when you move to compare with monopoly, you say under monopoly, you must be able to explain to say the under monopoly so that the market can see that we are changing your direction now, comparing the perfect to the monopoly. There is one seller. and then the market entry is completely blocked. So be able to explain, make it be clear as you answer, say if you compare market structures. All right, here we go. Section C, essay, microeconomics. Here is the example of an essay discussing detailed factors that lead to misallocation of resources. These are the reasons for the market failure. Examine the impact of income inequalities in the economy. So this essay has already been discussed before. So let's look at the introduction, which must be the middle order, where you define market failure occurs when the market is unable to achieve the efficient allocation of scarce resources and is therefore not able to achieve the best available outcome. Market failure can also occur when the market misallocates resources, resulting to undersupply or oversupply of goods and services for 2 marks. And then let's continue. Here you have missing market that we discussed. Missing markets can only form under conditions, and when these conditions are absent, markets struggle to exist. And then public goods are not provided by the market mechanism because producers cannot withhold the goods for non-payment, and since there is often no way of measuring how much a person consumes, there is no basis to establish the market price. That's when we are talking about the likes of street lights being there. If we have to pay for them, what if the neighbor has paid, I have not paid? Then the street light is on for the neighbor, but I'm also benefiting. So that creates difficulties for the market to supply these goods and services. Merit goods are those goods that are highly desirable for the general welfare of the people and are often not highly rated by the market. The market undersupply them. If people have to pay market prices for them, relatively little would be consumed for these goods and services. And then we continue with missing markets also. And then there are those goods like cigarettes and alcohol which are overconsumed in the free market. We continue. Government can ban their consumption or reduce it by means of taxation, such as excise duties, and by providing information about their harmful sides or effects. And then we continue. Producers produce goods in order to make a profit. Hence, they produce only goods which they can earn a profit. Hence, they fail to produce enough. Public goods are consumed by the community, and no one can be excluded from consuming these products. As a result of non-excludability, the private sector is usually unwilling to provide these public goods if people are not willing to pay for them. And then we continue. Imperfect information or lack of information. Consumers, workers, and entrepreneurs do not always have necessary information at their disposal to make rational decisions. Consumers do not have perfect information through advances in technology, increase in the amount of information to which people have access. Workers may be unaware of job opportunities outside their current employment. And then we continue with the same lack of information. Entrepreneurs may lack information about the cost, availability, and productivity of the same factors of production and may not be operating on the basis of correct information. Incomplete information about production techniques, cost of production, needs and wants of households, etc., means that factors of production are employed without answering the 3 basic questions of economy of what, how, and for whom to produce. Producers do not know exactly what the demand will be and thus cannot adjust their supply to be more efficient. And then we continue. Immobility of factors of production. Labor may take time to move into new occupation and geographically to meet the changes of the in consumer demand. Physical capital, e.g., factory buildings, telephone lines, bridges, etc., are not movable at will. These capital lasts for years but cannot be moved to fit changes in demand. For instance, if ever there's a need for railway in one area, but then it is not available. It's available in a certain area where it's unused. We cannot move the railway from one area to another. Technical appliances, applications change production methods, but it takes time for most industries to adjust with greater technical changes. And then we continue with immobility of factors of production. Markets may not respond to changes in consumer demand if resources cannot be easily allocated. This means that businesses will not use factors of production optimally or adequately. And then we continue. Workers are reluctant to change to other jobs. The worker has to give notice. This means that supply of labor will not always meet the demand for it. Therefore, markets fail. And then we continue. Imperfect distribution of income and wealth. So market system is is neutral on issues of income distribution. Discrimination distorts earnings for women and minority groups, disabled persons, and people subject to illness and incapacity. The market produces goods and services only for those who can afford, and this leads to some people having too many goods while others are having few goods. If initial income distribution is unequal, the final also will be unequal, which can lead to the market failure. And then we continue imperfect competition. In the market economies, competition is often impaired by power of certain producers to prevent new businesses from entering the market. Power often lies in to a greater extent with the producer than with the consumer, and this leads to inefficient allocation of resources. Most businesses operate under condition of imperfect market that allow producers to restrict output, raise prices, and produce where prices exceed the marginal cost. Imperfect market does not allow price negotiation. And then externalities. In this case, externalities are the effect of actions of one party on other parties who was not involved in the initial transaction. They cause market mechanism to allocate resources inefficiently because they make price. The market price does not reflect the full cost or benefit of the economic activity. The market price only reflects the private cost and the private benefit, not the external cost or the external benefit. And then we have two types of externalities, namely negative externalities. These are costs or charges that are exposed or spill over to the third party, e.g. pollution. These costs, the cost of negative externalities such as ill health are not paid by the producer. However, they affect the consumer negatively. So that's why we say they spill over to the third party. But the producer as the first part does not account for those costs. As people are ill, they have to consult doctors. For doing so, there's an extra amount of money payable by the consumer if the consumer is sick or if the household is sick because of the pollution caused by the business in the area. These harmful goods are often overproduced in the economy, which is not socially desirable. And then we continue. Positive externalities. These are benefits that spill over or enjoyed by the third party. So these are benefits to the third party from the action of another party which are not included in the market price, e.g. education or health. Markets failed when goods with positive externalities are often underproduced and the government steps in to produce for the shortfall. And then additional part. So a high level of inequalities. A high level of economic inequalities means the high level of poverty. Remember, if ever there's a high level of inequality, that means most of people are living below poverty line, which means there's high level of poverty. Poverty is associated with increase in crime and poor public health, which places a burden on the economy. That's when the government must intervene by providing for those people. In the face of increasing food prices and lower incomes, support for pro-growth government policies decline. Wealthy citizens maintain a disproportionate political power compared to poor citizens, which encourages the development of inefficient tax structures skewed in favor of the wealthy. And then we continue with the additional part. Unequal income distribution increase political instability, which threaten the property rights, increase the risk of the state rejected contract, and discourages capital accumulation. A widening rich-poor gap tends to increase the rate of rent-seeking and predatory market behaviors that hinder economic growth. Growth is suppressed in the economically unequal societies by decreasing availability of investments for human capital. It was 10 marks, and then any other correct answer was accepted. And then let's check the conclusion in this case. The conclusion, Market inefficiencies can result to government intervention to reduce goods and services that are undersupplied in the market, as they are deemed to be important for the social welfare. Any other answer than your essay is 40 marks. And then again, we continue. We have another evaluation. Okay, we skip this one. This one comes as a mistake. And then we have graphs. Remember, under market failure, you have two essays, the reasons for the market failure and state intervention. If I can brief you on the state intervention, we have the likes of the direct control. That's when the government intervened by setting some laws and bylaws to prevent the effect of market failure. And then also, we talk about imperfect market. That's when the state intervened by preventing what we call the imperfect market existence in the market, by ensuring that these barriers to entry that exist in the market are reduced with the use of Commission Policy Act of South Africa, using three bodies: the Commission Tribunal, as well as Commission Appeals Court. And then we also have the minimum wage, which is the lowest wage that no worker should be paid below within the particular industry. Minimum wage is in place or is used to redistribute income and wealth within the economy. And then also with the minimum wage, that will mean the level of poverty will be reduced because people will be earning reasonable income. So what is the effect of minimum wage in a negative way? If ever the state legislates minimum wage, there will be lower demand for labor and more supply of labor, because businesses will find it expensive to employ workers due to the fact that labor costs will have increased. That will be leading to firms retrenching workers. Then how can the government intervene to avoid or to prevent that high level of retrenchment? The government can intervene by providing employment subsidies to business so that they can keep the same number of workers they've employed before, with the government providing a certain subsidy to employ workers. And then we talk about the likes of the minimum prices. Remember, if we talk about the minimum price, we refer to prices that are administered by the government to be above the equilibrium. Those are prices that are set by the government basically to encourage producers to produce more of those goods and services, because they are important for welfare of the nation and because the government is trying to protect the food security. That's where we talk about the maize meal as well as the wheat. So what is the effect of these kinds of prices? The effect of the minimum prices, or the price floor, is as follows. Whenever the state intervene on imposing price floors, there will be oversupply of goods and services. The firms will be producing more of those goods and supply more. However, there will be less demand because consumers will be finding those goods too expensive within the economy or within the market. That's an effect. So there will be the market surplus, and that can lead to dumping, because if those goods are perishable, they can be sold in foreign countries at the lower cost than the actual cost of production in the country of origin, which is prohibited by the World Trade Organization. So there is a bad effect. The bad effect is that there will be oversupply and less demand for goods. That will be decreasing standard of living for citizens or for the household or for consumers, because they are not affording the product. Then how does the government intervene to prevent the high level of poverty, ensuring that people can afford that product even though it's sold above the market price? The government can offer subsidies on products to make those goods mostly affordable to consumers. And then we talk about the opposite of that, which is the price ceilings or maximum prices. Those are prices that are legislated by the government to be below the market price. They are mainly imposed by the government to ensure that people can afford those goods because they are important for the welfare of the nation. We talk about the pricing maybe on water supply and electricity, for instance. Those prices are not really selling at the equilibrium price in South Africa. They are selling below the equilibrium price. For that sake, the market undersupply those goods and services in the economy, because what happens? They don't get enough profit by selling them. That's why the government intervened by supplying the shortage of those goods in the market. So what is the effect of the maximum prices? The market tend to undersupply those goods and services, leading to the market shortages. Then the state must intervene then to produce those goods as public goods and services. Then we talk about subsidies, which is more like a reputation. Subsidies can be the cash or grant given by the government to business to produce more goods at the lower cost and supply more. As the government intervened by providing the subsidy, there will be more production of goods, which will be increasing the quantity supplied and will be pushing prices down, allowing the consumers even to afford more of that particular product. And then also we talk about levying of taxes. The state can intervene through levying of taxes. The state can intervene by levying taxes on the sale of demerit goods so that it can discourage the consumption or the overconsumption of those goods and services because they are harmful in the society. As the state intervene by imposing tax on their production, if the state intervene by imposing high tax on their production, what is going to happen? Firms will find the cost of production increasing, and then they will produce and supply less, while consumers keep on demanding more. And that will be pushing prices relatively high, having consumers to demand less of those goods because of high price. That the government in that case will have achieved its objective of discouraging people from demanding demerit goods within the economy, also discouraging firms from producing more of demerit goods in the economy. Like I mentioned before, the likes of what we call a redistribution of income and wealth, the government can intervene by using both can use a progressive tax system, which is then occurs when high income earners are taxed more and low income earners are taxed less. Who is the main beneficiary? Main beneficiaries are the poor people in the economy or underprivileged people in the societies. And then the government also intervenes by providing benefits in natura or benefits in kind, which is like the likes of providing free public education, free public healthcare, and then security or defense force within the economy. Then the government also make the provision of social security grants, the likes of social grant that you know of, like for example child support grant, old age pension, etc. The state intervenes also by using redress methods, which talks about the likes of the method that is used to transform policies that were used before to discriminate some people within the economy. So in that case, we talk about the likes of triple BE, the broad-based economic empowerment. That's where initially we had the black economic empowerment. So the broad-based black economic empowerment is in place currently to ensure that black people can participate in the economic mainstream. They can be a part of the procurement in the economy, owning resources like capital in the economy. Also, the state intervenes by the use of land reform policies through using land redistribution and land restitution, like that was explained even before. The state also make use of EPWP, expanded public work programs, to locate them in underprivileged areas where there's a high level of unemployment and poverty, to benefit those people, reducing inequalities, creating temporary job opportunities, giving those people skills so that they can be used even in future after contracts for EPWP have lapsed. And then also the government intervention in production. That's when the state intervenes by doing what? By producing some public goods and services that are undersupplied by the market. That can be community goods and collective goods. The state can also intervene through the fiscal policy and monetary policy under the demand side to influence aggregate demand. And then the state can also intervene through the supply side by implementing supply side policies to increase the supply of goods and services in the economy. The likes of providing subsidies, reducing cost of doing the business, also dealing with capital consumption, free advisory schemes, etc. Those are the part of supply side policies that fits in here as much as that the part of paper one, but those are supply side policies that are used by the government to do what? To prevent the effect of market failures in the economy. Then remember, I spoke about cost benefit analysis on my breakdown of the topic. These are the graphs that you need to know. Under perfect market, we have economic loss graph. Remember, economic loss can be achieved when what we call the average cost curve is turning above average revenues. We can see here AC is 50, AR is 30. Then this is economic loss. Then the shaded area indicates economic profit. Remember, economic loss, remember, the point E here indicates loss minimization point, the point E, where MR equals to MC. You can see this. And then also 80 is the loss minimization output, and then 30 is the loss minimization price. Remember, our demand curve is horizontal under perfect market because the firm is the price taker. We continue with the economic profit. In this case, we have our AC turning slightly below AR. So our AR is 100, AC is 50, meaning our revenues or income earned by the business after sales is more than the money that was spent by the business to producing goods and services. In this case, the firm is making economic profit. So same thing apply there where point E, which is now a profit maximization point, where MR equals to MC. They are both equal. Then the firm maximizes the profit. 120 is the profit maximization output. 100 is the profit maximization price. Shaded area indicates economic profit. And then we continue with the normal profit now. So here is the normal profit that which occurs when economic conditions that prevail when the firm's average costs are equal to the firm's average revenues. You can see they're both equal here. Average costs are 90, average revenues are also 90. So in this case, the firm is breaking even. We call this one a break even a point. We call this minimum earning that prevent the firm from leaving the market. And then here you have the entry of new businesses. We spoke about this one theoretically. If ever new firms are entering the market supply, the supply curve will be shifting from left to the right. There you see supply curve to S1. And then the quantity supply will increase from Q to Q1. And then what will happen also? The price will be pushed down and then from 90 to 50. Then the new equilibrium will be created from E to E1. What happens on the individual firm? The firm was initially there producing at point E there at Q, but with the increase in the competition, the market supply has been decreased and the firm supply has been decreased from Q to Q1, resulting to firm enjoying the normal profit because firms have entered the market. This is what we are talking about when we are saying long run profits are reduced to normal profits short run profits are reduced to normal profits in the long run because of the entry of businesses. These are the graphs that are explaining that scenario. And then we talk about exit of firms. Whenever firms are leaving the market, what will happen under perfect market? The market supply will be shifting to the left, from right to the left, from S to S1. You can see the quantity supplied decreasing from Q to Q1, and then the price will be increasing from 90 to 150. What happens on the individual firm? So equilibrium will be shifting from E to E1. So our equilibrium point now is moving from lower to higher. Let's check the perfect market here, individual firm. Here we have the price was initially 90 rand. The firm was producing at this point, and then now the firm is experiencing the increase in market in the production because the competition has been reduced. If ever the competition is being reduced, as a business you tend to produce more goods because you have to supply all of those consumers that were supplied by the previous businesses. So the firm supply will be increasing from Q to Q1, the quantity supplied, which will be pushing equilibrium point from E to E1. So you can see the equilibrium point for the firm under perfect market becomes more flexible in the long run. It changes because of what? Because if ever firms are leaving the market, that will mean existing firms will enjoy economic profit. There you see the firm making economic profit in the short run. Check now. The firm AC is turning here, and then what is the value of AR? Our AR1, MR1, D1 is 50, but the costs are 90. Then the firm is making economic profit. And then here you can be given a chance to draw this graph or briefly discuss profit maximization using MR and MC. Remember, this is the graph that is presented to you. We have our horizontal marginal revenue as usual under perfect market, and then our marginal cost is up. You can see it's moving up like a supply curve. And then look at the following. Here you have 40, meaning our revenues are equal to 40. So keep it in your mind. Any point below 40 indicates that the firm is making economic profit because revenues are more than cost. AR is more than AC. Any point above, MR is more than MC. Any point above 40 means the firm is making economic loss because what do you call MC is more than MR. So here, that means MC is higher than MR in this situation. And then this is the point which indicates profit maximization where MR equals to MC. And then another graph. This is the one that we spoke about previously on the activity where you draw the graph to indicate profit maximization point. Remember your points. This point indicates normal profit, normal profit. The profit is maximized at the point where TC feathers away from TR. This is the point at Q4. And then when TC is above TR, the firm makes economic loss. When TC is above, when TC is above TR, the firm makes economic loss also. And then here is the shutdown point. Remember, this one is very deep. It doesn't come as a shutdown. The firm will start by making a profit in the short run. Then the profit can be reduced to the normal profit. We can see now, let's say we have this point here. We have this graph, this curve going on here. AR is MR equals to D. Then in this case, the firm initially enjoyed economic profit. How do we see that? Let's assume this is our revenue curve also. So our costs were 60, revenues were 80. initially here. So the firm was making economic profit. Then the profit was reduced to normal profit when new firms entered the market. So when the profit is reduced, it goes to normal profit. That's when you see your AC turning along your AR1. So you see AR1, MR1, and D1. So if your AC is turning along your AR1, MR1, and D1, that means the firm is making a normal profit. That simply means that the profit that was enjoyed above here has been reduced to the normal profit. If ever the profit becomes even more severe, the firm can go further to make economic loss. So the firm can make economic loss. Where is economic loss? Economic loss can be here. Whenever our revenues are 60, our costs are 40. So look at this line here for our revenues. Our revenues are 60, our costs are turning above, they are 60. Then the firm is making economic loss. We started by the profit before shutdown. We made the normal profit. We have made economic loss because if you can check, this indicates economic loss now in this situation whereby AC is above and then AR is below. AC is 6, AR is 40. The firm is making economic loss. And then if ever this loss is becoming more severe, the firm can shut down. Under which situation it can occur when AVC equal to MC, or where AVC equal to MR or equal to AR or equals to the price. The firm can simply shut down or exit the market. Remember, our marginal cost under perfect market is also known as a supply curve at its lowest point on the upward sloping part. We regard that as a supply curve. And then we continue another graph. And then under monopoly, here you have your total revenue maximization. Remember, total revenues can be maximized. It can increase slightly until it reaches maximum point. Then it can can go downward if ever it's been maximized until it becomes zero. Where do you maximize total revenues? It is maximized at P and Q according to the graph. Be able to draw the graph and explain the graph when needed according to the examination. And then economic loss, remember, it occurs when average costs are above average revenues. You can see here AC is turning above AR here. Then the firm is making economic loss. This is the loss minimization point where MR equal to MC. Shaded area indicates economic loss. And then we continue. And then let's go further then to economic profit. You can see even the color give us the green light. So in this case, economic profit, that's when AC is turning below AR. AR is here, AC is here. So the firm is making economic profit because revenues are 150 but costs are 90. So that is the economic profit that we must be able to draw and explain for tomorrow. And then we go further to the normal profit. That's when average costs are equal to the average revenues. You can see they're all turning along here. Average revenues are 300, average costs are 300. Then the firm is making the normal profit or breaking even. These are minimum earnings that prevent the firm from leaving the market. We call this one a break-even point. And then we go further to market failure graphs, which is the last portion. We have what we call the negative externalities, which are costs that spill over to the third party. This is the graph caused by some effect of burning fossil fuel causing pollution in the environment. Shaded area indicates external cost, indicates social cost, indicates welfare loss in this situation. And then we go further to another graph for positive externalities. That's when we talk about benefit that spill over to the third party. So shaded area indicate external benefits or social benefits, or what we call external benefit, social benefit, or one can say private benefit or external benefits. So in this case, the demand curve will be shifting to the right, indicating that after people have received whatever skill they have got here, then they will be able to demand more goods because they become employable and marketable. That's why we call this one a part of positive externalities. And then we have the PPC, like I mentioned before. Points on the left of the PPC indicate allocative inefficiency and productive inefficiency. Points outside on the right are unachievable or unattainable. Points along are productive efficient, but they can be inefficient also if you present the situation. And then the point C here is allocative efficient, where indifferent curve is touching the what we call the production possibility curve. And then minimum wage, I've discussed that in details theoretically. Here is the minimum wage, like I mentioned, a minimum price. I told you that whenever there's a minimum price or price floor, there will be what we call less demand for goods but oversupply of goods and services, which will present market surplus, and this can lead to dumping. And then we go further to maximum price. I said to you there will be market shortages in this case. If ever firms are forced to sell at the lower cost than the market equilibrium, they will be under supplying the product. They supply 100, but how much is the demand? Consumers are demanding at 200. That means the market shortage. That's when the government will start to intervene to produce those goods from point A to point B as a public goods and services. And then we go further to indirect taxes. When the government intervenes by imposing taxes, firms will be supplying less of these goods and services, and the price will be increasing. Then consumers will not be affording more of these goods because of the prices, and then firms will supply less of these goods. Then the government will achieve the issue of trying to limit the oversupply of these goods because maybe they're harmful in the society. Subsidies. Whenever the state intervenes with subsidies, there will be increase in the market supply. As the supply increases, it will be pushing prices down, encouraging firms to produce more at the lower cost, and also ensuring that consumers are affording more of this particular product at the lower cost per unit. And then we go further to minimum wages. So whenever the state intervenes, this is the minimum wage. I mean, this is the market wage. So whenever the state intervenes by imposing minimum wage of 3.5, or what is going to happen? The demand for labor will be decreasing from 30 to 20, and then that means there will be retrenchment of 10 people, and then the supply of labor will be increasing to 60 because people are encouraged to work due to the fact that the amount of money to earn is too much. Their wages will be more, so they supply more of their labor, which will be leading to labor market surplus. So this will also lead to high level of retrenchment. Remember, I said to you, if ever this is a situation, the state can intervene by providing employment subsidies to ensure that firms do not retrench these workers, they maintain their work, then they are given the amount of money for employment subsidies. And then, after all being said, I thank you, and I believe this lesson will have a great impact as you prepare for your economics tomorrow. Good luck for tomorrow, and we'll meet again next time as we continue with preparing for our preparatory examination from now on. Thank you.